Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today, we are joined by three-time Olympic gold medalist, one-time Olympic bronze medalist, and one of the most proclaimed American Olympic athletes in recent memory, Kerri Walsh Jennings, nicknamed 6 Feet of Sunshine. Kerri formed the greatest pairing beach volleyball has ever seen, teaming up with Misty May-Treanor to win 3 Olympic gold medals and 3 world titles and go unbeaten for a remarkable 112 games. On returning to the Olympic stage at Rio in 2016 with new partner April Ross, she brought in a bronze medal at the age of 37. In recent years, Kerri has expanded her professional skill set by co-funding a non-for-profit organization to unite, empower, and inspire the sport of beach volleyball in communities around the country. In addition to that, Kerri became the owner of the San Diego Mojo, a world professional volleyball team, and the Pro Volleyball Federation PVF, which we'll talk about, which kicks off here in 2024. We are going to learn all about what it's like to be the life of an Olympic athlete professionally, personally, and financially, and how she's been able to leverage her success on the court to success in business endeavors. Kerri, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
My pleasure. You nailed that. That was impressive.
All right. I love that. Part of the intro, like there's a little strategy behind it. We got to nail it. We got to make you feel good. Then you're relaxed, and then you'll give us all the crazy dirt behind the career.
Oh,
So
how funny. Well, I have no secrets, so
see, that's
go where
my
you want me
truth.
to go. Yeah.
All right, well, let's start with this. So, I think what's interesting is what's going on with beach volleyball. I'll go back to your career from day one. We will step back into that. But just in general, beach volleyball right now, it's one of the fastest growing collegiate sports out there. 500% increase is what I read in an article in the NCAA team since 2011. So there's been a lot of change to the whole business of the NCAA world, especially with NIL and the ability to monetize. When you think about, your career when you were back in those days versus where it is today, what's just your overall take of the business landscape of how it's changed, seeing that the sport you come from has grown so fast?
Well, I think you just nailed it by using the term business. Like it truly seems like everything is a business now. When I played in college at Stanford, I played indoor. Beach volleyball didn't exist in college, and the pros it did, but not yet in college. It was kind of back to the innocent. I'm going to play for this university. It's not about my name. It's about the name that I represent, which is Stanford. And things have changed. Total 180. Coming to 2024, and like you said, NIL. And these athletes are brands, starting before college, and they're recouping the benefits of that. I know it's a trade-off because it's not as pure, and it's probably really hard for these athletes to focus and just to be student athletes, which is their main job. Now they have a voice and a platform, and they have these companies bidding for them and these universities bidding for them. And so I think it's a really exciting time to be a collegiate athlete, certainly an exciting time for the brands to figure out the Wild West that is NCAA. Part of me is very sad because change is always hard. And I feel like the purity, not that it was pure when I played, but it felt like it.
Yeah.
I think there's something like I'm a product of the 80s. There's something pure, and there was a code, when I grew up, and the kids were kids and they were allowed to be kids. And now these kids, starting when they're 10, they're like being programmed and being trained for a specific outcome.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. There's a lot of excellence out there. There's a lot of, people moving up the ladder really fast, but I think the childhood has been lost to a certain extent. But everything's a trade-off, So I think the business of youth sports, the business of collegiate sports, it has to be named a success story because there's so many people, there's so many opportunities, and people are benefiting from it on all sides. And yet that's pretty bittersweet because it's been a drastic change. So I just can't wait for the level set. Usually you start on one spectrum, there's overcorrection, and now we got to figure out how to take care of the kids as we go.
Yeah, that's such an interesting take. Like the economics makes so much sense. The business behind it now is capital, BUISNESS, and it's
Yeah.
thriving. But there is that whole dichotomy of like the character, the development of the kids. Is this best for them mentally, physically, and like even just like spiritually as a kid, just being a kid? I've had athletes that we've had on this show are A-Rod, Gronk, Sergio Garcia, Rob Deerdeck, and yourself. I've asked all of them this, and this is a perfect time to ask you this. as things are changing and becoming so competitive, and you're seeing even younger than 10, you're seeing some like
Uh,
4, 5, 6-year-olds get so niche within their sports that it's one way, the highway, and nothing else. Just from a parental standpoint, what's your overall take on that? And do you think if your kid is not doing that, that they're being set up for failure in the space of succeeding within their sport?
I think it's a very, very long conversation and a lot of ways to view it. Personally, I think just like my general principles in life is that I want range in life. I want diversity. I want to try my hat a lot of things. I want my children to do the same because you just don't know. What I want as a 5-year-old, if it doesn't change by the time I'm 10, 15, 20, 30, like there could be something wrong there. Or you're like Tiger Woods and you're him. You're the anomaly, but he's the anomaly. And so for me, it's just every generation is different. And I think, I'm 45 years old. I have 3 children. I don't want my kids to grow up the way I did. Like they're built for this time, this generation.
Mhm.
That being said, there's a lot of concerns because there's so much outside input,
Yeah.
and a lot of pressure to truly specialize. Like a 3-sport athlete these days, it's you're such a unicorn. It's insane. When I know that growing up, playing every sport I could as long as I could made me excellent. It made me hungry when, I would have an off season of volleyball. I played basketball. I could not wait to get back on the court again. That hunger is like a huge resource that
Yeah.
these kids don't have that anymore, literally or figuratively, when it comes to their craft, because they do it all day, every day. And like you said, in this little niche. And so again, everything's a trade-off, and I can't totally bash what's happening because it's what's happening. I
Yeah.
think what it comes down to for me as a parent and as someone who wants to be excellent until I'm, in heaven, hopefully, 100 years from now, I want my kids to be excellent, have great lives. It's about the individual and the individual developing themselves.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to take the Tiger Woods approach, be very focused, very specific. It's not that he's just a great golfer. He learned discipline. He learned communication. He learned so much to be excellent in his craft. And we can't ignore the fact that that's still happening, even though it's, kind of sad when kids have no range. They're very specific. It's sad, but it also could be an amazing success story. So I
Yeah.
think ultimately it's up to the parents, it's up to the environment that we put our kids in, just to remind them that this sport, this, niche, whatever you want to be, this is the vehicle for you to grow, for you to
Yeah.
become you. And you're not a one-trick pony. To be excellent, you have to be a multi-trick pony, even though you have one focus. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So I
100%.
think it comes down to the individual.
Yeah, I think that's such a unique approach, especially the ideology of just the range. I think that makes perfect sense. One of the things you had said too was outlying noise. I think whether there's an accountant, teacher, nurse, or salesperson that's listening to this right now, there's still outside noise that has impacted their direction. And maybe they're starting to contemplate that. I think about someone like yourself and the other athletes that we had on. I think specifically Rob Deerdeck, right? Sergio Garcia, pro golfer, there's a massive career there and there's massive upside. A-Rod, Gronk, same thing. I
Yeah.
think about like skateboarding for Rob Deerdeck, beach volleyball for you. You go to Stanford, an Ivy League school, the best of the best. Did you have any outside noise kind of directing you maybe against pursuing a sport where the question marks were still there if you could actually make a career out of this? And if so, how did you kind of overcome it?
I kind of by nature and by nurture, I'm just pretty oblivious to the outside world. I'm very inspired by the outside world, but if I have something that I love, I'm just here.
Hmm.
And that's helped me become great because again, if it's in my heart, if I feel like I have a calling, I don't care about the outside noise.
Yeah,
Generally, when I'm feeling weak, when I'm about to level up, or when I feel like my soul is ready for a transition, that kind of little fissure in my clarity and in my direction comes in because I'm being called to change. And that's when the outside noise can get in. Which at that time, and I've been through it like in every transition after high school, like, God, am I good enough for college? And all
sure.
these things. And then college to pros. And when I played pros, I just loved it, and I knew it wasn't NFL or NBA. I didn't have the golf money. I didn't care. I
Yeah.
love the lifestyle. I love the pursuit that I was on. It was bigger than that to me. And now with all the money in the market right now, you're like, damn, 15 years
Yeah.
later, it would have been amazing. But I didn't have that. And I'm never one to be like, oh, like poor me, I'm over here playing beach volleyball, busting my ass just like Gronk does, and I'm getting paid one millionth of what he gets paid. Like that's not how I see the world. I see the world, this is my choice. with this choice that I have. I'm not going to be a victim of my own choice. Like I'm a big girl, I know there's opportunities here. There's a lifestyle here that I love. I'm allowed to pursue my dreams, if it's not bringing the millions, that's okay. And there's other avenues. It's not about, there's other ways to do it, is my point. And Rob Dyrdek, he transcended his sport.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, again, it's so much more than being an athlete.
Mhm.
And for me, I've been labeled a female athlete. I've been labeled an Olympic athlete.
Mhm.
And those two are beautiful things. They're obviously true, but it keeps me so minimized. Like
Yeah.
I'm so much more than an Olympic athlete that's relevant once every 4 years.
Yeah.
I always want to be just considered a rad athlete, take away the female. I know I'm female, that's obvious, but it's like, I don't want to be minimized. And I think when you label yourself, it inherently limits you and limits the way the world sees you, and the way I love following, even Gronk, and he's getting into the TV world, and Dyrdek, who is just so incredible. He made a decision, when he was transitioning in his career to be excellent in many, many ways. And he's a mogul
Yeah.
because he kept developing himself within his sport as a vehicle. But he's like, screw this. I don't have a shelf life. I'm going to go and learn, and I'm going to curate my environment, curate what I focus on, because I want to kick ass forever. And he's kicking ass, and he's inspiring me and so many people who play in niche sports and in niche worlds to go and develop themselves so they can reap the benefits of this amazing market where there's so much opportunity everywhere you turn.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. And for my listeners out there, I'm going to get into some of the dollars and cents, but my curiosities are driving me in another direction a little bit now, because I think about when you talk about labeling, I think it relates to so many people back home, because you get labeled with your job title, you get labeled with what you are. And I don't think most people have maybe just the overall depth or perspective you do to get out of the label. I think they get pigeonholed into the label. And as a result of that, that label puts ceilings on what they can do and how they can do and how they think they can navigate. I know personally, like just through therapy, when I get mislabeled, that's something that personally totally deregulates me. Like it's something I work on. So for you, when you were given those labels, or when you're like, no, I'm bigger, better than that, I can do other things, I guess, what are some tactics you would provide others back home that are sitting there that are like, wait a second, I do get mislabeled, and that does impact the ceiling and the expectations of what I actually could do?
Yeah, I think it's something I'm certainly still working through, as I just retired, in 2023, like a month ago. I'm still transitioning
Congratulations.
towards. Thank you. It's bittersweet, but I'm ready. It's just, it's not all bad, right? Like I'm an athlete, poor me, I'm a pro athlete. People see me as that. I want to leverage that label, right? Like if you're the VP of whatever, like leverage that label and know that it's not a ceiling. It's just literally everything is just a stepping stone. And it's up to us, like, to know thyself, know where you want to go, acknowledge where you are right now, acknowledge the great things about it, and where do you want to go next. And if you have that kind of North Star that maybe fluid and keeps changing but is guiding you, who really cares what you're labeled? Like the world's going to do what the world's going to do. It's up to me to be defined by it or not.
Fair.
And so I think ultimately, I think every single question you ask me, darling, I'm going to be like pointing back to myself, because it's up to me.
Yeah.
It's not up to you to make me realize that I'm more nuanced than just a female, 5-time Olympian. Like that's my job. But I think it's up to us to go outside of ourselves and see who's kicking ass in the industries that they're in, or who's kicking ass in other areas where we just need to expand our identities personally. Because once you kind of see yourself like, oh, I could be that, then your universe and your thoughts and your actions start to kind of shift to help you become that and to take that journey. So it's not a linear thing. You don't go from A to Z and it's like totally straight. Like I'm finding out who I am right now in this conversation with you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, again, everything is there to serve as far as I'm concerned. And then just what are you going to do with it, and where do you want to go with it? That defines these things.
It is a mosaic, guys. It is far,
Yeah.
far from a blueprint. I think that's perfectly said.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, right? I know.
Well, like you, like I love what, sorry to interrupt, but I love what you said, like your curiosities are leading you somewhere else in this conversation. Like I do a lot of therapy as well. I love it. I do a lot of spiritual work, and like what it comes down to, what I'm learning and what my life experience shows me is that if you follow your curiosity and you follow your sincere passion, like you're stoked. Not only are you like alive and feeling it and being inspired, which kind of makes you it's like being inspired is the antidote to overwork. It's the antidote to, just kind of being in the humdrum of life. Like you're in it, and I think people, maybe they allow the labels that we put on ourselves or people put on us to keep us uninspired and boxed in. So it's up to us to know, to follow our curiosities, because our curiosities, what I've learned, it's part of our intuition.
Yeah.
Just same thing as our desires. Like our desires, it's a calling. And maybe you're like, I have a desire to be rich. And that's like the surface of it. But if you sit with it and if you kind of go down the path of, I want to, make a lot of money and have generational wealth, like what really is under that?
Sure.
It's like maybe you want to live a life of excellence and discipline. Maybe you want the freedom that comes with that or the creativity that comes with that, And so I think it's really important for all of us to follow our curiosities and desires and to really sit with them, because that will lead you to great places.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that if anyone's listening to this and they're starting to feel, I don't know, maybe any form of shame, like, oh, I really haven't pursued curiosities. I don't think the system is set up for us to pursue our curiosities. I think the system is set up for us to kind of check the boxes and live that blueprint life. So I do think it takes like a very thoughtful, intentional effort and a consistent effort to pursue those curiosities, because most of the time you're not rewarded immediately for doing so, which is
Totally.
a take, right? Now, so
Yeah.
one thing I'm curious about, I looked at you have the title out there, at least online, is most women's career earnings $2.6 million, just 2.6 to $2.7 million. But I wanted to rewind back to the start of your career. Your first Olympic debut is in 2000. Now, at this age, I think you're around 22, 23. Talk to us a little bit, for people who have no idea, where does monetization even begin when you go into pro beach volleyball, and what does it look like?
It's so interesting. So my first Olympics, I was still a student at Stanford. I turned 22 at my first games in Sydney. I was getting paid, I can't remember I think $1,200 a month. My
Okay.
first raise, I think I went up to like $1,500. So that was like the life of a pro Olympian, back in 2000. I didn't give a shit. Like I was so fired up, like
Yeah.
still a student, following my dreams. My life was unfolding. I had no sponsorship deals. I think Nike probably represented our team or was the sponsor for the team, and you get the perks that come with the team sponsorship, but nothing individual.
Yeah.
Once I moved to the beach, which was the year following the Sydney Olympics, 2001, I had just turned 23. I was training with Misty May, one of the best players in the world. She had just competed in the Sydney Olympics, her first Olympics in beach, got 5th place. Our first 2 years together, by the end of year 2, we were the number 1 team in the world. And it was awesome, like kicking ass, making good prize money, until you have sponsors, you live and die off your prize money. And the prize money, it fair enough. Like it covered our costs, covered our coaching, and we had a little, spare change at the end. But we were the best team in the world for the first 2 years and didn't have one single deal.
Wow.
The moment that we signed with the AVP, the domestic tour back in 2003, the sponsors came.
Okay.
Because when you're playing internationally, the American public doesn't see you.
Yeah.
And the brands don't really care about you. Once the Olympics come around again, they'll care about you. But it was interesting because we intentionally did not sign the AVP contract because we thought it was too confining. We had aspirations of being the best in the world. To be the best in the world, you have to play on the world tour.
Okay.
And the AVP contract wanted to keep us exclusive at home, or at least be able to control and say when we can go and not. And that wasn't okay with us. So Misty and I fought really hard to be able to do both. Finally, we came to terms after 2 years. We signed it. We became, at the time, I think we were on Fox Sports every weekend. We were on NBC many of the weekends, and we were winning. And the sponsors came, and it was incredible. Gatorade, I think, was my first big deal. Gatorade and Speedo, they were incredible. Not that it was the best money in the world. I can't even tell you what I got annually.
What does a Gatorade Speedo big deal mean to you? It's like, what is that? Like 50?
Well, any deal at the time that wasn't product was a good deal.
Yeah, you're like.
But no, I mean, we got, I don't even know, like they were both Gatorade was under $100,000 a year. Speedo might've been right at that, but it was just for apparel. It wasn't for ball and sunglasses and all these things. But Gatorade put me in commercials.
Okay.
Which, that's money in the bank. Say it again.
I said, once you go on commercials through Gatorade, doesn't that technically catapult you for other advertisers?
Yes,
Because now the
100%. I mean,
TV.
the more the more visible you are, obviously, the better you are. And the CEO of the AVP at the time, Leonard Armato, he's been the greatest evangelist for our sport by far. Anyone I've known in the sport, he's incredible. And he created an amazing platform where the brands wanted to support us, wanted to support the tour and the athletes. We were consistently on TV, both locally, regionally, and nationally. And it was the biggest party out there. And Misty and I won at the right time, but it took us signing a domestic contract, and the brands knew we'd be home and consistent for it to change our world. And it changed our world.
Interesting. Okay, I have a million questions because you touched on so much just in the answer, but I want to go back. Let's go back to the 1250 to the 1500 when you're first signed as an Olympian. The golden question I'm thinking is who's paying? Is it the United States federal government that pays?
No, it's so interesting. So the USA Volleyball is our domestic federation. So every sport, like there's USA Basketball, that's the federation, right? But what's interesting, I think the United States is, I think maybe the only one, but there could be one or two more. The only national governing body that is not supported by our government. So our government has nothing to do with it. So there's no subsidies that go to support Team USA. Right. So it's all the brand partnerships. That's why the Nike deal, the Visa deal, the Coca-Cola deal, those fund Olympic dreams. They obviously buy all the TV time, work with NBC, but that money helps fund the federations. And the better the federation, the more wins, the more golds they get, the more funding they get. So the government is out of it, which is great because we can't be bought and paid for. Like the athletes are pretty autonomous. Everyone's broke. I think a majority of the Olympic athletes live under the poverty line if they were just to take what they get from our federation. But our federations are kind of the admins. They don't really do much for us.
And that's not consistent across the other countries for the most part.
No. But it's a trade-off as well. Like Germany, Brazil, like in beach volleyball, in my sport, the whole world is so good now. And the athletes outside of America are 100% more supported than we are here in the US. Not that a federation doesn't try their best, doesn't support us, because they do. They help us, support our coaches with subsidies and stipends and help us travel to a certain extent and nutrition and training. But it's like pittance compared to China, compared to Russia, who those athletes get a salary, they get their housing paid for, all these things. We don't get that. But that being said, I am the master of my own destiny. I get to choose my partner. My federation doesn't pair me up. You know what I'm saying? So even though we're all broke, I'm free. And I get to
control to do what you want, how you want, when you want.
Which is priceless to me. And I think that's why America continues to do well, because we have a bigger pool of athletes to pull from. We're a big country and our sport is kicking ass. In Canada, there's like 4 top athletes and they have to like intermix. If they're fighting, there's not very many in the pipeline coming up. You know what I'm saying? Same thing for Switzerland. So I would much prefer the freedom than, being owned. But it's challenging.
And you think that with the model that we currently have, even though it's not nearly as lucrative as other countries, when you look at the trajectory of the United States in the Olympics, your overall thought process is this model will still be a winning model, what we're doing?
I believe that because no one else has the NCAA pipeline that we have.
True.
Right. Which are mostly a vast majority of American athletes being trained. Internationals are coming over to, get college degrees. Most of the athletes in other countries are pro by the time they're 16. They don't have the university college scholarship system we have. So these athletes are coming out of college. USC has been a perennial, champion in beach volleyball. And they're coming out of college winning world tour events because they've been so supported in their 4 years of development in college. And so they come out like a pro athlete. They're being way more taken care of than even the current pro athletes because they have a system and a structure around them, So the NCAA gives us a pipeline that is very, very relevant that will keep America strong forever. But that's why when we get to talking about the Pro Volleyball Federation, that's why it's so important that we have a very strong pro tour here in America, because that just further develops, there's a gap between collegiate to Team USA.
Yeah.
Right. And so we need a very, very strong pro tour here in America to bridge that gap so our athletes can stay sharp. Misty and I won 3 gold medals because the AVP at the time was so damn strong. Like we had no weekends off. Now the AVP is very, very weak. And I say that with all due respect, it's a tough market. There's a new investor. I don't have any details on that, but my mission in the next 5 years is to develop an entity that brings American pro beach volleyball back to the best in the world, because we need that. Our kids deserve that. These collegiate athletes that are so badass deserve that. And the market wants it. Like look at this tide that volleyball in general is riding. It's time.
And your answer to that then is the Pro Volleyball Federation, which kicks off in 2024, correct?
For indoor, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, kind of same thing for beach. Like, and all the top collegiate athletes go overseas to make a living now indoor. Like they leave for 8 to 9 months to go and make a living, right? And some of them are making 40 grand, some are making hundreds of thousands, but they're leaving American soil to go be obscure until Team USA calls, every 3 years so they can train for the Olympics. And that's when they become relevant again. So what the Pro Volleyball Federation is doing is they're building, a mirror property from the great European, South American, and Asian leagues here in America. The trump card that we have that no one else has is that we have American media here. Right. And these athletes already have collegiate NIL, IPs and platforms and voices that the moment they sign internationally, all that goes away. So the fact that the Pro Volleyball Federation is giving them a platform to keep all of that and to grow upon it, and to grow their own personal brand, like that's money in the bank, because these athletes know what they're doing.
It seems like the missing piece of the puzzle with NIL moving in the way it is for NCAA. It seems like a missing piece of the puzzle that Americans need for us to continue to thrive within this sport.
100%, because I mean, it's gonna be really sad if people's glory days were in college, even though they could have been the best in the world. But these athletes, some of them are getting paid a lot of money in college. The moment they become pro, all that goes away. And they're going to be making the league minimum or whatever it is, but if they play here in America, and if the Pro Federation does what we intend to do, which is to become the #1 premier league in the world, it's going to take time, but we're going to get there with great media partners, with great brand partners. These athletes are going to be able to pursue their dreams, making great money here in America forever. And then they're commentators, and then they become, local celebrities and national celebrities where they can keep doing commercials. They can start their businesses based off of, everything that started in college, really.
Right. What's interesting is what we've heard from you is the following 3 things. We've heard European league minimums and dollar amounts. We've heard about the new Pro Volleyball Federation, which is trying to replicate that, if not do it better, to keep Americans on American soil. But another thing we heard from you, which doesn't connect to what's happening now in 2023 and 2024, or was 2023, not 2024, is the whole concept of what you had mentioned previously. And one of the things you said previously was that you and Misty had to win tournaments to win enough money to then cover the cost of your coaches. That still threw me, and I have to go back to that. What was the business model like then? Did you have to pony up money and get sponsored, enter tournaments? And then if you won, like and paying for coaches, right? That is so different than any other sport that's out there. That's just in the institution. So tell me what that model was.
Well, it hasn't changed, to be honest with you. So I'm talking about beach volleyball right now, right? So because if you're indoor volleyball, you're in that system, there's a head coach, the organization pays for the coach, you have a salary, you have guaranteed money when you play indoor volleyball. The variable is how much, right? And your contract length and where you're going to play, all these things. Beach volleyball, unless you have brand partners, which I would say 90% of pro beach volleyball players do not have brand partners that actually give money. They give product, maybe a stipend here and there, but you're not making a salary that you can live on, So the model is prize money. The model is you pay all week, you pay your coaches, you pay your trainers, you pay to eat the best you can. You pay for your hotels, you pay for your travel, pay for your coaches' hotels and travel. The athlete pays for all this stuff. And then you're hoping to recoup all or most of it when you win on the weekend. Right.
But you might have some tournaments where you're losing money.
Oh, 100%. Well, most people are losing money. Like, for top two, teams make a decent amount, but that keeps lessening. The prize money keeps going down and down. It's pretty pathetic right now on the world tour and the domestic tour right now. So people are losing money. The moment beach volleyball players retire right now, they'll have more money in their bank. 100%. Everyone's broke, which is sad, but it's amazing because these athletes are so dedicated. They're so devoted. They love it so much. They're willing to have 2 and 3 jobs. Right. And that's what most people do. They work to support their professional beach volleyball hobby and they grind it out. And to me, that's beautiful. That's why Americans kick ass, because they're like, oh, this is an obstacle. This is a mountain I have to climb. All right, I'm going to climb it. It's part of it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
So, but I need to change that because people retire too early now. And some people some of the best in the world don't even get started because they're like, there's no career for me here. Like I need to start my life.
Yeah. When you say prize pools for those that do win, like give me an idea of what a prize pool looks like in this space.
It's every tournament's different. And if you were to go to adp.com or FIVB, .com or bvbinfo.com, you can go and see the prize money for every tournament from the 80s to now. And in the 80s and early 90s, people were making hundreds of thousands of dollars per victory. Right? You split with your partner. Now, I think for a domestic tour win, maybe you split 10 grand.
Yeah. Interesting.
No, split 20 grand, maybe. On the world tour, I think, we had world championships this year. They're making nothing. They're not making anything.
That's just, and what does a coach typically pay? If you bring a coach for the whole tournament, what do you typically have to pay?
Well, we either percentage of your prize money, which is a risk for the coaches,
sure.
Right? Or you pay them, a daily stipend.
Seems a little
it's broken.
It's broken. Like we're seeing like what happened with Live. Obviously, it's creating a lot of inefficiencies, or maybe more efficiencies now with PGA. Do you think there's going to be someone that comes along with some big pockets that just completely takes the sport over?
Well, I think it's beautiful what the Pro Volleyball Federation has done, because they have a league, right? The overarching league structure akin to the NFL, right? The league runs the league, and then they're bringing in these individual owners. And the individual owners, they're business people. They know the entertainment space. They know the sports business space, and they're bringing their respective teams to come and win. Like there's 7 teams in year 1 of the Pro Volleyball Federation, and there are 7 unique ownership groups, and they all want to win and kick ass, right? Yeah. And so they bought into the league, and they have to, pay their P&L, every year. And it's a rounding error to own a professional team in our sport to most of the world. You can own it for a song, which is beautiful. Like, we have room to pivot, and you can curate this amazing experience, and the Pro Volleyball Federation is going to kick ass. And so anyhow, the model has been broken. Once the media remembers and, gets behind your sport, like is happening in indoor volleyball, like they started putting NCAA collegiate volleyball matches after the NFL. Yeah. Ratings went up by 1 million. It matters. These details matter. So I think the media, probably because of the marketplace, has picked volleyball as a winner, something they're going to get behind. That changes the game forever. And I think people are gonna be like, whoa, where did volleyball come from? They're an overnight success. That's such crap. Yeah. Volleyball has been growing like gangbusters since I played. I graduated Stanford in 2000, and it's been like this: indoor for sure, beach for sure. And now the marketplace is recognizing it, and the media is getting behind it, and we have the recipe for success. And that's why for the Pro Volleyball Federation to be first to market here in America, to sign these amazing athletes that are hungry, that want to stay home, that want to be pioneers and develop this league here in America, with the support of CBS, who is our first, national TV sponsor, with the support of companies that are amazing in American, sports history, like Franklin Sports. We're building this A team of individuals and of brands that are going to support this league moving forward. And the athletes are going to they're going to give it everything they have.
I think it's fantastic. It sounds like such a great stepping stone for what is so needed. What a question I had just about the 2 sports of indoor versus beach volleyball. Both are Olympic sports, but are they transitional? Like, can you be the best indoor player and still be the best beach player? Because it feels like a whole different ball game.
Well, the fundamentals of each skill are pretty similar.
Okay.
Like you bump set, spike. Like if you have good ball control on the in-court volleyball, 6-on-6, you're probably going to have good ball ball control on the beach. But
Okay.
you have the sand, you have the wind, you have the sun, obviously 2 players compared to 6. So for me, it took me a good year to
Okay.
like not cry every day at practice. Like
Yeah.
I was so humbled because I felt pretty competent indoor.
Sure.
But it took me a while and it was very, very humbling. But yeah, so for me, I was obviously made Team USA indoor, played at Stanford. We won national championships and I transitioned to beach. The people who do well on the beach are the people who can outlast the discomfort,
Okay.
who are committed, who surround themselves by excellence, who are curious, who allow their potential to provoke them in a good way, not to make them feel like they're a loser,
Yeah.
and
Of
those
course.
who are resourceful, who
Yeah.
like are like, okay, I'm not going to make any money until I start winning. How can I, fund this dream of mine so I don't have to be worried about paycheck to paycheck? I need some
Gotcha.
stability. So it's just, anything that requires greatness and kind of giving yourself enough time and space to do the learning curve right. You have to have that to be beach volleyball. Indoor volleyball, there's you're more of a herd. There's less autonomy. You're told what to do more, but there's guaranteed money. You have a structure you're familiar with. The leagues already exist.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more embedded.
Okay. Well, I have you on beach volleyball. I got to go back to this question that I was very curious about was 3-time Olympic gold medalist, a bronze medalist. Do athletes get paid when they win a medal? Like, are you
Yeah.
paid a certain dollar amount for a medal? And what is that amount?
So yeah, so within the USA Federation, there's something called Operation Gold. And you have to sign this contract. And I believe I made 25 grand per gold medal.
Okay.
Yeah. And then like if I'm one of the top, I want to say 6 athletes within my federation per gender, then I get the chance to get health insurance.
Okay.
And I get like, I think the biggest kind of monthly stipend I ever got for USA Volleyball was $3,000 a month personally.
Okay.
Right. And so that goes to me paying my coaches, that
Sure.
goes to me, travel expenses and paying my rent, all these things. And then there's also a coaching stipend where if you're one of the top teams, I think it's either every quarter or twice a year, you get a $10,000 coaching stipend that goes to your coach to help subsidize these costs.
Okay.
You're training 5 days a week, and again, you're paying for your coach's travel. You're paying for all these things. Like you're so out of pocket. It's so insane. So,
Absolutely insane. What
isn't
about
it so impressive though?
yeah.
Like that, the dedication is so incredible.
It is because it's definitely commitment over dollars. It's definitely
Yeah.
pursuit of passion and pride over financial gain, which so many people in this world go their entire careers with never stepping into that zone even for an hour a week, yet alone a
Right.
career. So it is like quite impressive,
Yeah.
But it's interesting how it's changing for the good to make it more sense because if you could have financial gain, passion, and pride all aligned, I think you created an unbeatable group.
Yeah,
So
100%. And like, I mean, the marketplace with social media, like, there's so much money out there,
yeah,
and
totally.
so it's, again, if you're resourceful, like you and your podcast, you're kicking ass, you're creating merch, like all these things, like that's the opportunity that's out there for all these niche humans.
Yeah,
And so again, you have to be gritty, you have to be a hustler. But if you have that passion that comes inherent when you're chasing something that you love so much, like it exudes and the authenticity exudes. And so you can create your own stability financially, even if you're just piecemealing it together. But then at some point when you do start winning, people do show up and you do separate yourself from the crowd because you are so sincerely passionate about something. And, you stuck with it. Like people want to be around that energy.
100%. Something we talked about here is just financial transparency and then the process of negotiating. Like
Mhm.
for you and Misty, did you guys talk about where you paid? Could you negotiate together? Were you just paid the same? Like, how did that work?
So we each had individual agents,
Okay.
right? So marketing agents, we had the same one for like a minute. But that became clear that wasn't going to work out because it's such a small pool, and you want to kind of, you want the best for everyone, really. So yeah, so no, I wasn't privy to Misty's deal points. She wasn't privy to mine. The league, the AVP back in the day, there would be obviously tour sponsors and they would say, hey, Misty and Kerri would be great. They're winning. Or, they would kind of feed you opportunities here and there. But no, it was up to you to have an agent to represent yourself or represent yourself well, and go from there.
Okay, interesting. All right, I just have two more questions for you. One is geared around just this whole concept of winning. I think I'd read that your win streak was 112 consecutive matches, 19 consecutive tournaments. I mean, that is unheard of to be that sharp, that perfect, that long. And I think there's probably concepts or behaviors you guys deployed to do that that we could all take away from. What would some of those concepts, behaviors, or disciplines that you guys executed in this time period to literally never lose that maybe we could try at home and into our lives with what we're doing?
Well, fundamentally, we loved it so much. Like we
Yeah, oh,
loved
that's good.
it,
Yeah.
which is huge, right? If you love something, you'll suffer for it.
Yeah.
You'll show up every day for it. Like that's why the purpose, the love behind something is so important. And that's for whatever you're doing, you know. We also respected each other greatly, and we didn't want to let each other down. And so we held each of ourselves so accountable because I wanted to be my best for Misty, and Misty wanted to be, and that's priceless. You know, like we were a team in every sense of the word. We became a family. We showed up every day to win. Misty's dad, Butch, very, very early on in our career, he's like, you guys, you know, beating someone 21-7 is too close. Like, kick everyone's ass. And so we took a lot of pride in that. And not that we wanted to like demoralize people, we wanted to be excellent. You know, we gave everyone, whether it was the last seed in the tournament or the one closest to us, we gave them our best out of respect for them, for us, and just out of respect for the opportunity we had to dominate, you know, which is beautiful. But I think the most important thing that Misty and I did, and we didn't do it perfectly, but we did it a majority of the time. When things got hard, we went like this. You know, anytime we did lose, not within that streak, obviously, but we lost, you know, here and there, we would always leave the court arm in arm. We would never go like this. Whereas you look at every other team, even, you know, this applies to relationships, to partnerships, like
Totally.
usually you lose and people fracture and you go over
Yes.
here to your corner, you talk shit, you point finger. We never did that. We literally made a point of doing this. And then we would watch next game sitting by each other. You know, there was no separation from us. And that was off the court and on the court. When things got really hard and wonky in the court, Misty and I came so close together. And it not necessarily was it spoken, not necessarily did we have this game plan. It's just what we did.
Yeah.
And that to me is it's the recipe for success. And even if we did lose, it's like, who gives a shit, because we stuck together. Now let's go and figure out how to not let that happen. We had fun with that.
Yeah,
You know,
that is a recipe for success. It's a recipe for success, and it's a masterclass on partnership, which exists in all forms, right? Personally, professionally, socially, friendships, all of it. So, yeah, I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. And I guess that is the recipe for staying undefeated that long. While I have you, the last thing I really wanted to touch about is just the ownership of San Diego Mojo. So just kind of the business behind it for the listeners back home, you know, where can they learn even more about it? Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, you can go to San Diego Mojo VB.com and check out what we're all about. And it's that same handle on Instagram, you know, on Threads and X and all these things. So please follow us.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a dream come true being part of this ownership group, to be the first team on the West Coast, the first California team in the inaugural season, to be part of this leadership group. It's just been a dream come true. And, you know, I decided to retire, you know, end of last year, and I mean, there's so many things going on, but I had no direct plans. And this fell into my lap in the spring. And I started to learn about the Pro Volleyball Federation. I started to learn about the other ownership groups, and it got me so excited. And so for me, as part of the owners in San Diego, I'm a lover of San Diego. It's an incredible sports town. It's such a huge community. Even though it feels niche, they show up for their teams. You know, the Wave, you know, the women's professional soccer team, they're at Snapdragon Stadium. They are kicking ass in attendance. People show up in San Diego, and volleyball is a lifestyle there. They have some of the top juniors clubs in the country, kicking butt, indoor and beach. And so it's like, we've picked this amazing community, one of the finest cities in the world, to bring a Pro Volleyball Federation team there. All the athletes want to be in California. You know, I mean, there's 6 other amazing franchises. Nothing can beat us because we're in San Diego.
Yeah.
And God bless Vegas, God bless Omaha, God bless these amazing franchises. But there's something special about California, you know. And so, and the community and the business community, they rally. You know, I have called so many people in the business world being like, how can we help, Kerri? We want to be part of this. Like, let let us be part of this. And for me, we had our launch party where we announced the name and all these things. And I really reflected on what it means to be an owner and the ownership that comes with it. And I take this very seriously. Like, for me to have ownership of something, I'm going to handle it like I handled it with Misty. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to be all in. I'm going to get dirty, be consistent, support these athletes, support the community. And I hope the community takes ownership of us as well, because they resonate with us, because these athletes are going to kick ass. The leadership group, our president, our GM, they're on fire. Our PR, they're on fire for this. So, I think greatness doesn't happen in a vacuum. It does take a village, and the village in San Diego is super dope. So I can't wait just for them to fall in love with us and us to ride this wave together.
That is so cool. And it seems like with your approach, it's always like, right now, what are we doing? Thinking in the present, thinking with passion and pride. When I think about ownership of a company, though, or of a sports organization like this, and I just go to economics, which I know is definitely not a direction or motivator for you, I have to imagine the idea is build this up, build the equity within the league. Eventually your value goes up. And then possibly, I mean, we just saw Mark Cuban exit some of his shares of Mavericks for 3 point something billion. Is the idea, though, is to like build equity and then possibly exit? Is that like the financial goal with ownership?
The goal is to kick ass and to make a ton of money, like, period. We want to be the franchise that's the standard bearer. And with that, we need to be financially sustainable and thriving. And the other members of the ownership group, everyone we bring in wants that. They want to win. They're thinking billions. They don't want, which obviously takes time. Like, how long did it take Mark Cuban to develop the Mavericks? But that's the mindset. And so, not necessarily that I'm ever thinking about an exit. That's part of it, though. That's life. I'm 45. I got 3 kids. Like, things are going to shift and curiosities are going to change and priorities. But I'm in this to win it. And I think the financial opportunity on all sides of this is amazing. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're an owner, whether you're in the league infrastructure, your brand partner, media, like, volleyball is where you want to be. And I'm just excited to bring my heart to it. I want to make money. I want to be free. Like we talked earlier on, like, some people, like, you follow your desires, and I have this desire to create generational wealth. And it's because I love my children. I want them to be set, but I want that freedom that comes with it and the creativity. And I want to create things in this world. And this, certainly the Pro Volleyball Federation and my, ownership stake in San Diego Mojo can be part of that for me. And it's not just self-serving. It serves my family. It serves my community. And it serves just every single athlete for generations that are going to be able to compete. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. Kerri, we're going to have you back on Trading Secrets. Whenever you do sell it for 8, 9, 10, but I don't know, who knows how many years. That's going to be round 2 with Kerri. But Kerri, what we got to do before we wrap up is get your trading secrets. So it's something that people back home, they can't read in a textbook. They can't get on a TikTok tutorial. They can only get through your wild career direction, successes and failures. So we need one trading secret from you, Kerri, that you can leave us with.
I mean, I have to believe you've heard this before, but there is no secret. You show up. If you want excellence, you organize your life to be excellent. For me, a secret of mine that I want to shout from the mountaintops is to learn from the best. There's so many resources out there. If you want to be an amazing trader, if you want to make a boatload of money, if you want to be excellent in volleyball, go and learn from the best. Watch their video, listen how they speak, listen how they organize their lives. But ultimately, I think the biggest secret of all is that you are the answer, you are the antidote, how you choose to show up every day, whether it's a shitty day, a great day, you're kicking ass, whatever it is, it's a new day right now. It's a new moment right now. So choose who you want to be, practice your way into becoming that and being that, and you'll get there.
I love it. I think the secrets, there are no secrets. The secrets lie within yourself, and they lie within the people that have already done it successfully. That's a hell of a trading secret. Kerri Walsh Jennings, where can everyone find everything you have going on?
Well, San Diego Mojo VB.com for sure. And then at Kerri Walsh across the board. Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for spreading the love for the Pro Volleyball Federation and San Diego Mojo. It's going to be incredible. Hopefully we'll have a team in Nashville soon. New York soon after. But the sport is blowing up, and I really appreciate you allowing me to come on here and just talk about it, because, it's like baby steps, like, you don't fall on top of the mountain. These interviews, your curiosity, your openness to having me on matters a lot. So thank you so much. And I look forward to coming back and sharing all the good news and hopefully hosting you at a game or 2.
That would be awesome. We've loved having you on. We can't wait for you to come back. And guys, go give Kerri a follow on Instagram and X, and of course, San Diego Mojo. We'll be looking for that Nashville team. And Kerri, this has been so informative, insightful, and motivational. So thank you for being on this episode of Trading Secrets.
My pleasure. Godspeed.